Sid, that music hits so hard. Sounds like Galacticos walking into an arena. That's exactly what I feel like. Every time I hear that intro music before we start the show, I'm amped. Like I'm walking into the Bernabeu. I'm not even a player. And I hope that's the energy that we have coming up towards this Club World Cup. And as we head into next season, with all the new exciting pieces that we have, welcome to The Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast. I'm your host, Jarod Hector, alongside Sid. How are you, bud?
Good. That music, it does feel like an arena, and it also just reminds me of all of our titles. Like when we're winning, that music hits. When we're not, maybe not as hard. When we're winning, Jarod, I feel like anyone listening to this, we all become one big family. When we're winning, especially when we're losing, we all are just like disjointed, angry pieces of a fan base.
So basically what you're saying is like this season, it ain't hitting as hard this season because we didn't win no major trophies this season.
No, I'm saying it hit hard like 18 months ago. I'm excited for it to hit like that again, Jarod. I want to play the music. I want to feel proud like we're the kings again.
Listen, I think we're on our way there. We are on our way there. We're going to get into some Xabi Alonso stuff, and we're going to get into the build-up under Xabi Alonso with our new signings. Really quick, thank you all for, of course, joining the channel. Make sure you subscribe. The Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast on YouTube. We're also on Apple, Spotify, all the places you find podcasts. We're also on social media at Real Deal Pods on X and Instagram. So please make sure you're following us there for more insight. Obviously, you got LeConte this week talking about Xabi Alonso, and he'll be doing more of those lives at least once a week, possibly more than once. And you'll get Sid and I on a show at least once per week. So what we're telling you right now is at a minimum, you're going to get 2 pieces of content from us a week at a minimum. Odds are it's going to be far more than that as we continue to build and keep growing. But listen, and it's all for free. So, I mean, you guys are winning. It's a win-win situation. See, it's something you had said a while back, and it made me think about Xabi's introductory press conference with LeConte. Did a good job breaking it down. So we're not going to go too deep into rehashing old stuff, but some things stuck out to me. And one of the things that you said when Xabi Alonso joined was that our floor will automatically be higher just because of the structure that he's going to bring to the squad. And I was really thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, like, and because some of the comments he said in his press conference made me think, Sid's on to something here with the idea of our floor being better. So this was Xabi saying the squad is top class, and I'll try to build a better team together, something we can all be proud of and excited about. I want people to love what they see, and then the result will be victory and celebration. He went on to say, I've analyzed how the team played, how the players are, and I'm using it to form my own idea. As coaches, we depend on the players, and I think they're amazing. The challenge is to build a team, unleash the potential of these players, and for all of us to come together. If we all come together, we'll have a very powerful force. So to me, that taps into exactly what you're saying, Sid, and the critique we had about this club all season, which is a collection of amazing individuals who don't seem to be connected and running around with chickens with their heads cut off. And so as a unit and as a whole, we are actually underperforming and underwhelming relative to all of those individual pieces of talent. And with Xabi here, I think that, Sid, that floor will automatically be just higher, right? Like, I think there's going to be a baseline level of performance we're going to have as a collective unit just because of the structure he's going to bring to the squad.
Yeah, and Alonso, kind of like Zidane, he's in that mold of star player who played for us and is a fan of us as well. Mm-hmm. So, like the fans, he wants to see the same things we do. And I think that's what's so cool about Real Madrid right now. Maybe like at a city, like you get this crazy genius who comes in, you can't really relate to how he sees the game. Like you can on some levels, like, yes, you want to see 2011 Barca every year. Who doesn't? But like beyond that, like the why it has to be so boring and why it has to be slow, methodical, they don't relate. I think our coaches are just a little more relatable. They're like, dude, like this guy sold like Makelele when I was playing. Like I'm not letting him do that when he makes me coach. Like, that's their mindset. It's a super relatable mindset. And Alonso is probably the guy of all the ones with this mindset. I mean, even Zidane, they had their own ideas coming in, but a lot of it was like them being aware that like at Real Madrid, you can win without coaching ideas. You don't need that. It's really just, are you in tune with the players and what you're getting from them that year? And are you being honest about your margin of victory, which we weren't last year? We were riding every 7-point lead over Barcelona as if we're pretending we won the league, even because we're 7 points ahead of Barcelona. We blow the league, we blow everything.
Mhm.
And I think Alonso takes that rose-tinted look at everything away. And also, when he came here, 2009-10 was when we elevated from a more 70, 80-point team to a 90-point team for a good decade. And like I know we finished with 95 2 years ago, but that's not the underlying numbers were worse than a lot of our 2010s
For
teams
sure.
went over. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see someone who sees the same things we get frustrated about as fans.
I also think, Sid, and this might be a controversial take, and that's not what I'm known for, as people know who know me from my other work and it's True Hoop. I'm a more nuanced guy. And when I say controversial, I don't really mean it to be that way. But what I'm saying is I think because of Xabi's what he's going to want to implement here, and because of that higher floor, I think that means we're going to have a lot of league success. I could honestly see us winning 2 or 3 straight league titles just because of the level, the floor competence we're going to have. Conversely, because of the more random nature of knockout football and Champions League, we may only win 1 Champions League title. I know, it sounds crazy. You're like, what the hell? I'm like, and it's not that I don't think Xabi's going to have a high ceiling. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it's just the level of competence is going to be, and then we'll be late in every champion. We're not going to get knocked out in the freaking round of 16. Like we'll be late deep into every Champions League semifinals, finals. I just feel like the way he sees things, I think, will again give us more of a floor, which will be more advantageous for league seasons. So we're gonna have more of those. What Sid's talking about, 95 plus. We might have a 100-point season somewhere in this run, right? Just because of the nature of how he's going to want these guys to play. And he said this in his press conference. Said, "How will we play?" Question, like reiterating what someone asks him. Football asks you to be flexible. Of course, I have an idea, but I want the team to show energy and character. And to me, it's a word that you and I have used, and it's going to be Xabi's best friend: pragmatism. You must have flexibility and the understanding to go, all right, I'm going to try this solution to this problem. If it's not working, right, is it just not being executed properly, or do we need to tweak the strategy a little bit, right? And that's where I think we're going to see Xabi's true value come through.
100%. And now you want to get, I think the strength for him is he's going to build around who we have. And I think with Cruz out 1 year ago, Modric out this year, a lot of people are wondering what's our buildup going to be looking like. People in the comments asking about Angelo Stiller too. So we're going to start with who we know we signed. Stiller is a possibility. We'll discuss that towards the end of the episode. But who did we sign?
But before we get to who we signed, though, because I think these last 2 quotes really are indicative of where you're going, Sid. So this is a source that worked with Xabi when he was at Valdebebas, when he was coaching the Juvenil A team. With Xabi, the players will feel like they're going back to school. Xabi loves football, and he will make the team's style of play very easily recognizable. And this is Alex Grimaldo, who obviously played under him at Leverkusen. Xabi is a coach, ? As in, like, you want me to talk to you about him as a coach? He's very close to players, but at the same time, he's strict. He doesn't want anyone to relax. As soon as we're on the training ground, he wants everyone to focus on his idea of football. He wants everyone to know exactly what to do on the pitch. He understands the game perfectly and knows exactly what will happen in each moment. And I think those 2 things, Sid, are really crystal clear for when we look at the build-up phase, because I think that piece of it, that idea of it's like going back to school, and he has a very good understanding of what's going to happen in the game. This is going to be critical, I think, Sid, for the team and for what we're going to see. And as a result, we're going to see a learning curve, and we're going to see some challenges at times, right? Because these guys for the last couple of years have been playing literally free-flowing, free loose, I go wherever I want to go on the pitch kind of football. And Xabi's going to be curtailing some of that, not to neuter them, but to have the spine of our team a little bit more solidified so that we're able to be, again, have that higher floor. And I think, it's going to be really important that sort of understanding of his framework gets there, so that when we ultimately see rotations and those kinds of things, it doesn't matter who we bring in. Like if we're on the B squad, that point about the football being recognizable, you'll know what it looks like because everyone knows there's a baseline of what we have to do here, both in and out of possession. Now, the result and what it looks like in the end will be different because Vinicius is better than whoever your second string left winger is, right? Because he's Vinicius, right? Obviously. But the overall framework of the team will have a recognizable lens to it.
Yeah, definitely. And the school thing is important because, like, as we know, Bayern players complained a lot about Ancelotti over at Munich. And I mean, even some of our players have hinted like, hey, we need to be better prepared going into these games. We need to be more proactive. And I'm really excited. And I think it's awesome because you get great players and they can control the build-up without much coaching, like Cruz did for so long. But they also will get even better when you augment them. And I think the main thing is that Cruz and Modric were low turnover creators. And I've started to realize like what made them so profoundly great. Most creators like De Bruyne, Messi, Yamal, like you're going to miss some passes to get the ones you need across. Those guys are dribblers, especially Messi. And so you weaponize them by having them carry the ball, but they're more like in transition situations that's useful. But when you want to like both control the game and dominate it, it's so useful to have guys like Modric who complete 85, 90% of their passes instead of 75, 70. And so I think the big question is with Cruz and Modric going out, one, how do you get that incisiveness back? And two, like, can you get that incisiveness while maintaining a high degree of accuracy in build-up? And one person asked, is it possible with Xabi's more strict structure to have the same remontadas we had when necessary? I think 100%. I think the remontadas were made possible by clarity of role. Like, hey, we need to come back. Like, give the ball to Cruz, run, get open.
Or we're excellent crossing the ball, but we have no one who can head it. Put Joselu in the game so we can literally just go out and time those headers. I mean, when the Bayern come back, right? Like, yes, that can for sure happen because his role, he knew when he came on the pitch, oh, you need me to score 2 goals right now. Like, that's okay. I will do that.
Yeah. And Carlo 23-24, let's be honest, he got his timing of when to keep a target man on or not, like right all year. I don't know if I've seen that too often where like he just knew when things would break with Joselu and when to start Joselu and finish the game by halftime sometimes, which was not often, but like the way the Joselu minutes went, he really got him right. He knew what he was doing. And I think we're going to need to see more of that from Alonso, and we will. I think the difference is I think Alonso's better at reading the game. I think he reacts and is more honest about what's happening and is more reactive to moments and more proactive before the game simultaneously.
And I think because of that point set, because of the proactivity, we might have less need for remontadas because the game might be already done and dusted with that proactivity.
100%. And also, guys, if you were making comments, we did turn on the stage here, so you can kind of see them in the bottom right now on the screen as well. If you got anything cool to say, obviously try to add something cool only. Don't troll, but I'm sure we'll get Barcelona trolls. Now, let's move in to how we're going to impact our build-up. So Dean is one of the first players we want to talk about. I mean, I think the first thing that stands out to me is that I think he's like we wanted this with Rudiger, but we want like the 2-footed right footer who can play left center back. And that's different from Carreras or Alaba, the left footer who plays left center back. This is the right footer. It's a much harder role. In general, like teams have been moving towards left footers and that spot or like ridiculous ambidextrousness. And the first player I want to really talk about who I feel like he's replacing on the ball and build up, I know Rudiger was supposed to, is Sergio Ramos. I feel like this is the on-ball Sergio Ramos replacement. Like he could become the dominant guy. And I'll go into some stats, but what are your thoughts on that, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, as he has made clear in numerous interviews, Sergio Ramos is Dean's idol. So I mean, you could not be more correct in this comparison. I love his ambidexterity, right? Because being 2-footed and being able to play on the left side of center back or right if he needs to be is great. But if we're assuming Rudiger is his right center back mate pairing and he's on the left, that's awesome. I think he's so confident on the ball, and he's 20. Am I not mistaken? He just turned 20, right? Or 21?
Yeah, he's 19 going 20 or something.
Okay, so guys, the ceiling he has to grow and get better. He is nowhere near a finished product, and already in over 1,000 Premier League minutes, he was outstanding. And you can argue about whether you think the Premier League is better than La Liga or not. Let's assume for the sake of this conversation, it is. So for him to play the way he has in the Premier League, right, with over 1,000 minutes at that age, I think is outstanding. So I'm super excited about him, especially on the ball, progressing, like being that to your point that Sergio Ramos replacement, but 2-footer. So potentially, right, has a chance to grow and eclipse what Ramos could do. I want to know, okay, so if it's him, Huijsen, and Rudiger as your center back pair, and we assume Trent is going to be on the right and Carreras on the left, right? Those are his backline mates. That's what we assume the starting four is. So when Dean has that moment where he's pushing the ball forward, right? Who's staying behind in those moments?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Well, I don't know about the defense, to be honest. Like that, that's just usually a more complex set of rotations.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more so like, is Dean? Well, that is a question, but it's really, is Dean? How many passes or load is he taking away from the DM potentially? Because like, if we go to Man City, I feel like again, we've leaned on our center backs and build up before, and that's where we're going to go over the stats. But there are levels to which you can lean on a center back and build up. And is it going to be that Dean is kind of more of a conductor now with Cruz and Modric gone? And we have potential. I think all our defenders have that potential, which is what's so interesting. Like Carreras, Dean, and Trent. So not all of them are going to advance.
Right.
Defense is where it gets complicated. But on offense, let's just see how much we can plug and play. So Sergio Ramos, his 2017-18 season, 65.5 passes at 90% completion. Just giving you context, he was at 64 in 18-19. 2020-21, I guess he didn't play enough, so I won't count that year, but he's in the 60 to 65 pass range, 90% completion. What makes him special was his long balls at 80% completion as well. He could make the crossfield pass. Dean right now is at 50 completions at 83%, but again, playing for a much worse team. It's not even a comparison. And
younger.
So Ramos was at about the same number of progressive passes as Dean per pass he makes. Like, it's not too different. And then going over to Rudiger. Rudiger was at Chelsea. He was around the 60 pass completion. And then it bumped up under, 18-19 under Conte, I believe. Or Sarri, he was at 74 passes under Sarri.
Was it 19 or 20 when they won the Champions League?
When they won the Champions League, he's at 67, 6% completion. So Tuchel had him coming in like he was considered one of the best ball playing center backs in the world. Like he was used very progressively. And he comes in here. He's actually committing way fewer passes. He goes from 65 passes to 53 and his completion goes up a few notches. And that came into a Carlo team that was leaning less on its like center backs and build up, and it's just Carlo throwing the responsibility on someone. I don't know if that goes that way here. I feel like here, instead of going fit, like if it was Carlo, I think he stays at the same number, maybe a little more accurate, more conservative. I think with Alonso, we're not just seeing the center back as a guy who recycles possession, but maybe we go more expansive with him.
Yeah, and I think obviously with Dean here and with Trent and with Carreras, that's going to take a lot of that build-up responsibility off of Rudiger's plate, right? Like he's just not going to have to do as much in that regard, which I think is important given the amount of minutes load Rudiger's played the last 2.5 seasons. And he's also coming off 2 injuries, right? Now, I know there's reports and rumors that he might end up in Saudi or something, whatever. That's important because if, in fact, he does leave, right? Again, just rumors at this point right now, we will have to fill that spot with someone. Of course, we have Asensio, which, you know, he can make a play for that. But I think all of that is relevant and makes sense.
100%. And just on that note, going over Alaba's stats, some of them, like we have about 60 passes per game from him a lot of years. So at Real Madrid, it's sometimes fluctuated lower, like gone down to 59, 51, 55, a little lower. But his completion rate consistently at Real Madrid, the center backs are being asked to be conservative. It goes up. It's 90%. At Bayern in 1920, he was at a way higher usage, 79 passes completed.
Yeah.
That's like midfielder level at that point.
For sure.
And I think what I'm trying to say is we're trying to replace Alaba, Cruz, and Modric with Dean, Carreras, and Trent. Like in totality, we're trying to swap out some problem solving for the others. And ultimately, all these guys have shown an ability to be high volume playmakers at high accuracy, except Trent, who's a low accuracy, which we'll get to. But what do you think about that, Jarod?
So I think for fans are going to hear that and be like, oh my God, so our midfielders are not going to be a part of our buildup and we're just going to be using our center backs. I think it's our back line. I don't think it's a direct one-to-one as that. It's just that Modric and Cruz are such unique profiles in their positions that we don't have anyone who currently plays midfield who can do those exact things. But we do have ball progressing and ball playing center backs and fullbacks who can do that, right? So they can then take that place. And because our midfield is super athletic in Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde, Jude, etc., although Jude will be playing higher up, those three, right, can do a lot of defensive work, right, and other things while the buildup is happening. And I think that's the idea, right? It's this interchangeability of our players. And let's be honest, right? The Valverde, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni has certainly had enough experience playing defense, right, under Carlo, as all of them have had stints playing in the back line over the past year.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool. We're going from midfielders who are being makeshift problem solvers in defense to overqualified problem solvers in defense itself. I think that's really big because they play that position from day one. That's going to be massive. And I got a cool image here to kind of illustrate it, but we want to go essentially away from relying on Kroos and Modric to solve every situation to allowing someone like a Trent to be more dynamic. It's a lot more lightning. And so a lot of the work then comes down to when do you let Trent get creative? Like it's going to be passing triggers of, hey, like Dean, Alvaro, when you guys have the ball, keep it and get it to Trent. And when Trent gets the ball, you have the license. People are going to be moving around Trent. Whereas before, maybe it's like when the ball got to Kroos and Modric, you had years of practicing with them and trust and like their aura, frankly, I don't know what else to call it, but like there's a energetic signature you have at that point where it's like it just goes beyond reality. Like you feel them, you have an emotional connection, a social connection with them that's kind of hard to quantify. And I think Alonso is going to do a good job changing it where Trent builds that social connection with the rest of the team. And I think he's the trigger point. It's going to be like Dean, Carreras, Trent back and forth, and then Trent pulls trigger. But Dean can pull trigger sometimes.
For sure. I mean, I think it's exactly what I had read in the quotes from Xavi's presser, Sid. He kept talking about building team. He used the word team like half dozen times or more in a couple points, right? Like, and that's the idea. It's that connectivity between all 11 guys on the pitch so that symbiosis is there. So they know, right? One of the problems that we complained about this year, Sid, was that too often in the attack, Vinny and Mbappe would make runs for themselves to score rather than for the team to score, right? And I think that's what Xabi's going to change is that, no, we're 11 as one, man. We are trying to figure out what is the best way for us to be in the most advantageous position so that we can now unleash ourselves on everybody, right? And I think to your point, that connection is going to start with, it used to look in the past with Kroos, Modric, Casemiro, right? Like that's how it looked for years. Well, now it's going to look like potentially Dean, Trent, Carreras, right? As sort of that connecting hub. And then now we're spraying it out to Jude, etc., right? Fede's ball carrying, what have you, right? I think it's, again, this idea of looking at how is everyone connecting in the best possible way to cause the defense to react in a way they don't want to react. So now we can go, okay, Trent, everyone's on this side. You know what to do. Long ball pass, opposite end. Oh, shit. Vinny, one touch on one defender. Cooked. We're going in for the score, right? And then you have Mbappe and Bellingham bearing down on the other side. Like, oh, my God, I'm in trouble, right? What we envisioned this year to see where it's like, oh, my God, that fearsome attack. That's what we want to have now. And that all starts with how we build the ball out of the back.
100%. And I guess I know we were going to go Alvaro and then Trent, but I guess we'll just start with Trent here. The main difference I want to say with him is he's a 75% like accuracy passer. I think people need to understand. And like this last year, his pass completions went down from a traditional 65 on Liverpool most years for about 5 years now.
And that's playing under a new manager.
Yep. And like down 13 passes. I think Jarod cut out, but he'll be back. So Trent is down 13 passes. And he's at 52.8 completions from 71.7 attempts this year, but he's still completing at a similar rate. So the important thing to know with Trent is that it's going to be a different type of creation. We're used to having a team where Marcelo, Benzema, Isco, Modric, Kroos, nobody lost the ball until we knew we were getting the chance. Let me just get Jarod back in here.
Sorry about that, guys. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I was just saying that before, like what gave us such a giant advantage that I'm curious to see how Alonso works around is when we wanted to win titles and go after games, we weren't reliant on high turnover creators. And this like is a whole different ball game, in my opinion. And I honestly would like to see Trent become equally dangerous as a maybe slightly lower turnover creator. Because I just think maybe he breaks the game to the point where you're so good at passing, we don't think about your turnovers. And just like with Vinny, we don't think about your turnovers with dribbling. Fine. But it's just like geometrically, it's going to be something to get used to. Now, like we don't need to get the ball all the way to the other box before letting our lead creator decide what he's doing with it. And a lot of times when we get the ball forward, we're not going to know if the pass is making it. That's the difference. We like when Kroos or Modric led the charge, every pass is on target. Everything's on time. We're a step ahead of them. With Trent, it's going to be elements of we're not always ahead of them, but we plan to lose the ball and we crash the box around where he passed it to, like Liverpool. As you know, Liverpool were great partly because they knew how to crash the box after the cross, not just because of how they met it.
Right. And I think that, again, going back to Xabi's word, team, that connectivity and knowing and trusting where everybody's going to be is going to be a huge part of this, right? And he said it, when we are out of possession, what is the energy and character we're going to show? We know by watching the club this year, when we lost the ball in possession, there was minimal to negative fight to try to get it back. It was just like, all right, whatever. And guys just walking around and so if that's the case, we're going to be in trouble again. I don't think so because, again, Xabi has his clear ideas on what that should be. And so to your point, Sid, Trent's pass may be off, but I'm not concerned that we're not going to get the ball back immediately because there's going to be a plan in there because, again, as he said, I've watched all the players. I have an idea of about what they can do and what we want them to do. It's a phrase I've used before, but it's structure, but the freedom to be creative within that structure, right? That is what we're going to have so that, again, we have something to fall back on, right? So that in moments of crisis where, oh man, things are unsettled right now, how do we settle things back down? Get back to our structure. That'll settle us back down, right? And so I think that's huge. Thanks for the comment there, Doug. I think Sid just adjusted his camera.
Yep, just did. And also, I think a lot of the work that Kroos and Modric did was provoking the opposition to break their structure. Like, hey, I'm dancing with the ball here. You want to come press me, or are you just going to let me do what I want? And I think that's where Dean is really helpful. No question. I'm not sure the extent to which Trent will be used there. I know Trent's the release valve, but the person who I think is going to be so useful there is Carreras, just from what I've seen.
Yeah, Sid, I watched, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 minutes of tape on him. And yes, I know he's Spanish, so it's not like I'm just using this term because he's Spanish, but I'm not. He has pausa, Sid. And that is so important in the build-up phase because Sid just talked about it. You're trying to get the other team, your opponent, to break their structure, right? And so when he pauses with the ball for just that half a beat, does it invite you to break where you're supposed to be to come get up on him? And he knows you're going to do that, and he knows where his release points are, and he's a very good passer, Sid. I like him on the ball, in tight spaces. He knows how to play, and that's, I'm sure, from doing, I don't know, a billion rondos since he was 3 years old, right? Just that ability, I think it's so critical. I like him a lot. And he's 22, guys. 22, which means he also is nowhere near a finished product and is in line with this youth movement we have going on with the club. And I just see a lot of room for growth here. And this is not about crapping on Fran, but the upgrade from Fran to Carreras is so major in that with Fran, there was never any pause. Everything was always frantic and frenetic when I watched him because Fran had a limited skill set, right? He knew I have to get up the pitch with the ball to this one spot and cross it because I have nothing. There's nothing else in my bag to go to. That's all I have. Whereas Carreras has multiple things in his bag that he can get to, right? So sure, I can cross and get upfield if you want me to, but I can also lay back and wait, invite the defense to come. Now here's my release valve. Let's get the ball upfield, and he can overlap, right? He can do different things. And so I think that's the biggest excitement that I have with Carreras. And I'm not even saying, oh, he's not Marcelo reincarnated, nor am I asking him to be that. But he is such an upgrade in competency level and things he can do with the ball that in and of itself will just do wonders for our buildup.
Yeah, that's where he really reminds me of David Alaba. as this metronome who can just play these passes. Excuse me for the funny graphics. Just wanted something to show Alaba how cool he is. But I mean, Alaba's a machine, and I just saw that, and I'm like, wow, like seamless at left back, left center back, nose to time runs, not reliant on speed to get open all the time, but reliant on speed of thought, which is just nice. I think that's what we need in our back line, just from the years of Furland and just Carlo de-emphasizing how we build up. I think a much more cerebral black line that thinks about the game is going to be awesome. Sorry, wrong image. Yeah, this build-up dominator image. I just wanted to get this here because that's
YSLG is Carreras press resistant. Yeah, he is. And that was something that, remember how many times Furlan Mendy would get trapped in that corner, and we're like, oh God, what do we like? Right? Like, he was so lucky the years that he had Cruz next to him, right, as his release valve, right? But when we saw Cruz was gone, what happened, right? I mean, in the few minutes Furlan played this year, not many, right? And I talked about Fran and what his issues are, but yeah, I think Carreras is press resistant, and so he can deal with that situation over there. And again, just invite them to come forward, right? I see Barcelona doing it right now, right? I can see Lamine kind of trying to bear down on him, right? And he just makes a move, gets the ball free, right, to his release valve, and now all of a sudden we're charging up the other way against that high line, right? Yes. So Carreras is press resistant. All of this, though, guys, it's not going to be an overnight thing. Xabi's not here, and we get all these signings, and day one, first match of Club World Cup, oh my God, we look amazing. Like, no, it's going to take some building. And I kind of like that we have those. Well, all of them aren't going to be here, number one. That's the first thing, right? We're not going to have what our team's going to look like next season, but we're going to have Dean. I believe we're going to have Trent. And from what the reports look like, it looks like Carreras will also be here in time for Club World Cup. So those matches that are early against like Pachuca and like those other sort of like lower club level teams, I think those will be important. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like practice rounds for us, Sid, for Xabi to get his ideas out and for us to like kind of see this is the direction we want to play in.
Definitely. I just want to add, someone's asking, you think Ramos was fast? He was pretty fast, dude. And Ramos, didn't he have like during when he was chasing Robin, when Robin broke the record, Ramos broke a speed record when he was chasing him. It's just Robin was faster, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Sergio is very fast. Dean's not as fast, clearly, right? Dean's also Dean's what 6'4", I want to say.
Well, so, Sergio started as a right back and he was moved to center back, so it's a different thing. No, Dean. I don't know if again I'm not really talking about defense. I'm just talking about how do we replace Cruz and Modric on offense. And also Alvaro. I just want to point out he's at 53 passes from 65 completions. Benfica, though, finished higher in the Portuguese league than
finished second, I think.
Yeah, so Benfica finished second. I haven't gone through the metrics. I think it's a fair assumption to make, though, that they have more territory. So his 53 out of 65 might not be as impressive as Dean's 50 out of 60 for Bournemouth. But regardless, like, I think that's all you need to see. I think 80% completion on a non-super team is kind of the ceiling for center backs, unless you have some like mini small team Guardiola somewhere who's getting you to play out of the back. But people are asking about, I think two people I want to look at in that regard is just briefly the Tchouaméni and Stiller metrics. Like Tchouaméni, people are wondering, I think Mazin, one guy on Twitter brought it up, like how many passes can he make? And just going through, did I get the stats wrong when I looked it up yesterday? Well, he's at 67.9 completions out of 73 attempts at his high season, 22-23. That's pretty solid. And he's gone down the last 2 years, but he's at 90% completion. At Monaco, he was at 45, 55 passes. I think like people don't realize what we have there. Like 90% completion with or without Cruz for 68 passes is still somewhat impressive. People are forgetting the good stretches we had. And I think in this new system, like Dean, Tchouaméni, Alvaro, keep the ball, get it to Trent, let Trent decide when to speed it up, when to slow it down. I think that's like really in order. And you redistribute the passes to all these guys. They take the load. Even a healthy Rudiger, by the way, in this system. I'm saying this new system utilizes the skills Rudiger brought from Chelsea that haven't been used. Yep.
No, I'm with you 100%. Again, this is Xabi unlocking something that Ancelotti, for whatever reason, didn't. Right? We've talked about him ad nauseum, so no need to rehash that. I think it's going to be an exciting era, and I think again, it's this idea of knowing that back line and Tchouaméni and I don't want to talk about Stiller because he's not here, and I don't know if we're going to get him, but Stiller or even a player like Camavinga or Valverde, right? Like what they can do and what can be unlocked. Again, we've talked about Tchouaméni before. He can switch play and he can do a variety of things. We've seen him do it like to a high level, right? And so the question is, again, within this structure and with now someone like a Trent behind, right? What is the best way to optimize that midfield, right? And to get to what they do best. And so I think we're going to, the great thing about it is that, yes, he has his ideas, but we're going to also see an ability where, again, Xabi gives them creative license and freedom, right? Where it's like, look, if we've got the numerical advantage here, I trust you, man. I trust your decision-making, right? Make that pass. Go for it, right? He'll take away in an odd way, Sid. You know, Carlo gave them total freedom, but in many ways, I felt like that neutered some of them because there was like too many choices. Whereas it's like with Xabi, it'll be like, okay, here's your structure. Once this part is solidified, yeah, I trust you to read the game and do the right thing. I think it'll unlock something, particularly in guys like Tchouaméni. We talked about Camavinga before, so I'm excited.
Definitely. And just people are asking about Stiller and Lukeba. So Lukeba is at a solid 61 completions from 71 attempts. This year, 86% completion. Last year, 67 completions, 73 attempts. That's pretty ridiculous for any team. And it seems like Dean is used a little more aggressively, maybe harder league. I will need to watch for more nuance. But all I'll say is Stiller, if I had to pick one, I would just say that I would probably go with Stiller because I think with Carreras, Huijsen, presumably eventually healthy Rudiger, Asensio, you do have a lot of ball playing now. I don't know if you get one more redundant ball playing profile. So if you want insurance in midfield, someone like Stiller, and someone said, okay, I might go to Liverpool anyways, but Stiller is probably your mathematical insurance. I say in that he's at 74 passes completed this year on 87% completion. Last year, 78.5 on 89. That's not easy to do unless you already play for a team that likes dominating all the time. And I guess they both play for the same team, and that kind of clears it up that they're seasoned in a style where they need to have a lot of the ball. I think some people, like especially in defense, you don't always need full problem solving. You just need guys who are willing to understand their role, solve enough problems to resist the press. But like, to be perfectly honest, Trent can help us escape and decide when to escape all the time, just like Cruz did for many years.
For sure. A great comment by Cake Eater here, who he's tying into what I was saying before about how structure will actually make Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and those guys way better. You're more likely to make the right choice when you have 3 options versus 10. And yeah, that's true, right? There is a paralysis by analysis when you have total freedom. It's like, okay, what do I do? Because I can literally do quote unquote whatever I want. But in a situation where it's like, no, I've taken away 7 options from you. No, you can't do those. You have 3. You will like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Your reading of the game and understanding will be so much better. Yeah. And a player like Stiller, right? Like that is what we talked about, Sid, about having a full A and full B squad, right? That's when we rotate and we're able to be like, all right. And then let's not forget, Arda has a place in this somewhere, presumably, right? So these are all ways in which this team is going to be better suited top to bottom to not just have great league seasons, but also compete in all the European championships, right? And the cups. And I think that's ultimately what we want, right? That's what Real Madrid want. And I think the direction of football now is going where it's not enough just to have an Once de Gala, right? Like you have to have an opportunity where that Once de Gala gets enough time to rest and you don't drop off so much, right? It's what I say all the time, Sid. It's like when we play against the dregs of the league, those bottom relegation teams, our top guys should not have to be going full 90s for us to eke out 1-0 wins against freaking Getafe or whoever, right? Like 100%. That's ridiculous.
100%. And someone's saying, people saying in the comments that he plans to use the academy a lot, Alonso, that are asking why we're comparing Lukeba with Stiller. The main thing I'd say is like our defense and midfield unit as build-up progresses and defenders like get better and better. I don't know if you guys know, but like just 5 years ago, if you were looking for some of the profiles, they didn't even exist because like build-up wasn't as commonplace top to bottom. You didn't have mid-table Premier League teams playing like somewhat ball-playing center backs. They'd laugh at you. They'd be like, park the bus. Now, firstly, the profiles are a lot more common. And so I think some problem solving has just been like kind of assigned to defenders. Like we see that City and Arsenal,
Mhm.
and again, City and Arsenal do it in an ugly way. I don't want us to be like boring, like
Right.
like Guardiola. Like we do everything so we can release a center back at left back to go attack. Like that's not the
Right.
goal here. But you can still increase the load. The other thing is when you have defenders who can take a high build-up load, in my opinion, you can play them deeper, which helps the transition defense. If you're only useful like a Fran where you have to overlap, then you will overlap to be effective on offense. So you will leave space behind you. It's just the reality of any overlapping fullback. So in this case, I think Lukeba, Stiller, I think it's one problem, which is like, do we have enough people willing to hold on to the ball who are comfortable holding on to it in situations where it might look like you can lose it? Because a lot of buildup is like micro risk decisions of like risk reward decisions. Like, hey, is this safe or am I being dumb? And is he going to just score it and take the ball from me? And like you're calculating, like, is the speed with which the guy lunging at worth trying to fake him out, or am I just risking doing something dumb? And those calculations, you get them right, then you can kind of let your defenders play together without bringing more guys down. And so you release more players in the second phase and the third phase. So I think we're going to get a very a team that like plays together. But in build-up, Jarod, I think we're going to let Jude and Vinny kind of stay away sometimes. I think we're really going to let these guys cook. And that's why it's like Stiller is the same question as another defender in the sense that do we need another 20, 30, 40 passes or a guy who can do that 80, 90 passes per game like a Cruz? And I think Tchouaméni can be that guy. It's just what I want to say. I think someone mentioned in the comments, I think Tchouaméni I think you can literally give him 10 to 15 passes at 100% completion from Alonso, like on a gift. Like I think he'll give it to him. And I think it's going to be consistent and easy. And that's where you don't need Stiller. Stiller becomes insurance, like in case this doesn't pan out.
No, I think you're dead on. And again, it is because Xabi will give Tchouaméni structure, right? That he needs to unlock the best version of himself. And take away everybody doing everything at runs. Again, so many times this year watching this club, it was like chickens with their heads cut off. It's like, wait, who's dropping now to help with build up? Because these guys can't do it. It's just chaos all the time, right? You're going to have a little bit less of that, which is a good thing, right? That part is good. Someone in the comments is asking if we consider that Vinny and Rodrigo have never been in such a highly controlled environment. So how will that translate, especially early on? So I want to be clear. It will be a control. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be pet ball. Like, I don't think it's going to be that structured, right? But I do think clarifying roles and Vinny not having to drop so far back to get the ball. Because whenever Vinny and Rodrigo guys would drop deep to get the ball, it's because they weren't getting it, right? And because of what we just talked about. The buildup was so poor, they could not get the ball with minimal touch and then go at their defender 1v1, right? It just, we didn't have it once Cruz left, right? That was a real problem. And so now that we have that set up, there'll be less of a need or no need for those guys to drop back and do that, which will then free them up to do the other stuff that Xabi's going to want them to do. And he's going to want them to press at times and do different things, right? And I think, trust me, Vinny getting the ball out on the wing with touching with one touch, like he's going to be in freaking heaven, loving that instead of having to be like, great, they're constantly spamming me the ball. I got to go 1-on-4 because that's our only offense. Like, I think he will be much relieved to have much more cohesion. And as far as Rodrigo, I think it's very clear that Rodrigo and Xabi need to have a conversation. Maybe it's already happened. Maybe it's going to happen. I don't know, about what he expects from him. And if and when that conversation's had, is Rodrigo comfortable with whatever that role that Xabi sees from him is? And then if he's not, what does that mean going forward?
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see. Also, it is a fair concern in the sense that you could argue but I would argue they've already been in that environment if you're so concerned. Zidane, like it was a little rigid for them. They were struggling to create because every situation was with a packed box. We weren't playing.
And they were younger there, so I feel like they had to be a little bit more like, all right, if we want playing time, we got to do what this guy says.
Got to do what he has.
So the question is, will they now be like, well, we're not going to do it because we're used to doing our own thing? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Vinny and Rodrigo want to be unlocked to the best version of themselves.
Yep. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Vinny gets controlled because, like, usually what happens with these top coaches is even for the best players, they're like, okay, let's cut out your bad shots. Let's cut down your unnecessary dribbles. Let's make it so that per touch, you're more dangerous. So I think there might be an element of cutting some of the fat out of Vinny's game dribbles wise, kind of like we saw from Ronaldo 2009 to 12 as he went from first year to third year. Again, that we want to see the fat cut out of all their games, like Rodrigo, Mbappe. And like, you know, you can get fat in different ways. You can get the Grealish type of fat where you win the treble and then you can't beat your man anymore, you know, and
you get actually fat.
Well, you're actually fat, and also like every touch feels like a waste because your system is so boring. There's that fat, and then that's the fat that they don't want. That's what we don't want to see. We don't want to see it get like when Vinny was first here. Like it was always frustrating because he was always like a move away from completing the action perfectly, but he was still a move away all the time. So like the action never got completed in a way where you get him the ball, defenders are off balance, and maybe he took an extra touch and you wouldn't get what you wanted. I think that's the main thing that's solved. So I'm very excited to see that. And yeah, I think it's going to get better. I think mainly like the Cristiano element is what everyone should focus on. Just got to go watch his game. He was a very high volume dribbler before he came here, like 6 dribbles per game, 4 shots outside the box. Maybe some games you get a couple fire like tap-ins. Then he became like tap in every game. Maybe once in a while you get the shots outside the box. And I'm so excited for that.
It's gonna be great. I see one last question here from Mark Lawrence. Do you guys prefer Arda or Jude for the 10 role under Xabi, and why? The 10, like, I think what we have to do, Sid, is get away from this idea of like you're only a 10 and this is your only job. And like I think it's going to be more hybridized. Now, it's not going to be the Carlo version where Jude was just literally all over the place doing everything. It ain't going to be that kind of chaos. He's going to be a lot more restricted is the wrong word, but he's going to be a lot more disciplined. That's the better word. A lot more disciplined in what he asks him to do. So I think you'll see elements of Jude's game where he asks him to do 10 like things in certain circumstances. And he will ask Arda sometimes to do 10 like things in certain circumstances, right? But it will not be out and out like this is our number 10.
Agreed. And I mean, and to be perfectly honest, in a double pivot system, I would prefer Jude because he can crash the box. I don't prefer anyone over Jude right now because he's the only one who can head the ball. And so it's really, can Arda be alongside Jude in different lineups? How many minutes do those lineups get? How useful are they? Can those lineups start games? Those are different questions.
Yeah, for sure.
And that Alonso will answer. But listen, Jarod, I think we kind of covered everything here. You know, we're replacing, I wanted to do a graphic. I won't get to it now, but we're replacing Cruz, Modric, Alaba with Trent, Dean, Alvaro. Almost. It's a little more abstract. We're not going left back for left back, right back for right back. We're going more abstract here.
Yeah, I mean, again, just look at who we've had in the left back, right back roles this season, and look who we're going to replace them with, right? Just off the rip, right? I mean, that's going to tell you all you need to know about and the skill sets that those particular players have. And now you add a ball playing 2-footed progressive passing center back in Huijsen, who actually can head the ball too. So in certain areas, we'll be able to use him there as well. That is what we're going to be replacing the build-up, right? So it's going to look a little different, right? Obviously, because of where it's coming from, but we're utilizing, again, Xabi has said, I've seen these players play. I know what they do well. Now it's a matter of how am I going to meld all that together so that we, as a Real Madrid unit, are in the best possible position.
100%. And I'm looking forward to, I hope, Xabi, if you're listening, or if anyone on the staff, I want to see Jude ISO against fullbacks and Trent like long ball to them. And I want him to manhandle fullbacks, especially when we're up in games and they need to win the ball. That's going to be so fun. Imagine we're up in a game, Trent to Jude. The fullback's like, dude, get this guy off me. Give me the ball. And Jude just bullies him. You have to triple him. Jude makes the right read. I can't wait to waste time tastefully when we're winning games.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been asking for this for too long. And again, we did it under Zidane. It was under Zidane. It's like 90% of the game, we're keeping the ball, whether you want it or not. It's not going to be fun. It might be boring. I don't care. I'm fine with boring. I want more boring now, honestly, Jarod.
Yeah. No, listen, with the tools at Xabi's disposal, by the way, more tools than he had at Leverkusen, which, by the way, he took to an undefeated season, right? Like, they did not lose a match until they got to the Europa final, right? Like, I mean, so unbelievable. And now he has better tools and better problem solvers here. So this is exciting. And, you know, I see Cake Eater. We won't get to this deeply, but there are rumors that Nico Paz is going to be brought back. That's, again, to my knowledge, that's for that A and B squad. I think Real Madrid has seen the writing on the wall, and they know like we have had in the past. If we're going to do what we want to do domestically and in Europe, we need a full A and a full B squad. And I think that's what they're assembling right now.
Totally. And it'll all be exciting to watch. We will be back. LeConte will be back tomorrow, going live. He wants to talk about what our ideal summer will be like. He has ideas on why the Nico Williams and Rodrigo transfer and where the Nico Williams rumors are coming from. He has some cool concepts on what Alonso wants from wingers, what Rodrigo may not provide. So tune in for that. And I'm still on the fence, but I might be back with Ali and maybe even you, whoever wants to join. Champions League final on neutral ground. Might just do a post-game show after that. Potentially, we'll confirm soon.
I will say before we go, I want PSG to win so that Mbappe's professional pride is hurt and he comes to the Club World Cup and next season with like a chip on the shoulder, like, all right, man, people talking bad about me. Like, PSG's better without me. I got to be better. I hope that, like, because athletes just need these little slights to get them to like turn up to a different level. And I hope PSG wins just purely selfishly from a Real Madrid standpoint, so that he's like, oh man, I got to quiet this narrative about them being better without me.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's third on my list of rooting interests I have in the final. One of the first ones being I hate PSG. The other one being I don't want to see Lamine win Ballon d'Or. So there's a lot going on here.
But if Dembele scores in the Champions League final, I feel like, how are you going to take it away from him, man? They won domestic and they won the Champions League.
I just feel like they'll pull some Barcelona institutional crap and take it away.
I mean, they probably will.
It's like, hey, you left us. Like, you're the French kid who left us. Like, we don't like you and you're part of PSG. We'll give it to Lamine anyways. Like, I don't know.
No, you're right. They might. Yo, listen, it's very well could happen. I'm the one that told you, don't be surprised if he wins it this year. It won't surprise me.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, we just don't want to see 9 La Liga goals win the Ballon d'Or. So
literally 9 freaking La Liga goals. Talking about freaking greatest season ever. I'm like, what are you people talking about?
Dude, I can't wait till Alonso just goes and shows them what and how dumb Flick's strategy really is when you put it up against someone who really knows what they're doing. And I want him to run over him. I can't wait. Listen, Lamine benefits from having, like, if you're gonna praise Flick, we got to be honest. He raises your offensive output as much as any coach. So you get that Flick bumper. So it's the 9 goals and 39 goal contributions, but with the Flick bumper. And I don't know. It's like they get a Flick bumper. I don't get why you get a bumper like for having a good coach. You know, like your coach created this awesome system, and yes, you're the number one option. But listen, I don't want to rant, but I don't want to see him win.
I don't think any Madridista wants to see him, because we will not hear the end of this. Will not.
And I love him. Yes, it's an awesome big game stretch. Dude, you haven't even won a Champions League yet. Like, come on, dude. Like,
right.
I just watched.
Exactly.
I've seen 6 of these. Win 1. Like, you lost to Inter. Your remontada happened in a defeat. Like, what? Like, they lost that game. They're like, oh, Lamine's 20 versus Inter. I'm like, okay, did they win the game? No.
Guys, as you know, we are a nuanced data-based podcast, but we are still fans. So you see, this is where our emotion comes out, where we're just like, what the f- are you talking about?
Yeah, but yeah, like, that's where, you know, I want to see Lamine get humbled before Mbappe. I think Mbappe already got humbled, is my hope. I hope you don't need to see PSG win anything else to realize what happened. And and I know Alonso he has that Zidane, like, I've already played for this team. You can't bullshit me like you bullshitted Florentino and stop running and still get played. That's the whole thing. You could be a player who didn't play D, call Flo and be like, why am I not playing? Agent could call Flo, put pressure. Flo would call Benitez, be like, play him or I'm sacking you. Zidane comes in, it's like, sack me, bro. And then they're not electing you next time. Like,
yeah. No, listen, I think Xabi will click. I mean, look, we already see it. Like, they already made a bunch of signings that he was very influential in calling for. I see it going. Dev Dog at the buzzer. Yes, we said at a minimum, there will be 2 episodes from us a week. At a minimum, LeConte is going to go live at least once, and Sid and I will do something at least once. So those are the 2 pieces of content we're talking about. Now, there's a potential, as you've already heard, LeConte is going live again tomorrow. So that's 3, and Sid is possibly doing something after the Champions League final on Saturday. That's 4, right? So that's what I mean about at least 2. LeConte is going to go live at least once a week. Sid and I are doing something at least once a week. Those are the minimum. You're getting that as a bare minimum every week. There's a potential for more, and as we get more established, we'll have a more clearer content schedule, and all of it can be found on YouTube if you want to watch live, and they'll also be posted up later on Apple, Spotify, wherever else you find your podcast. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like it, share with your friends, share with everybody. We enjoyed all the comments. Thank you guys so much. Find us on socials at Real Deal Pods, and thank you for tuning in to Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast. Next time.